Well, I wanted to talk today a little bit about fees and how you can use that to improve your performance. Typically when I'm working with teams to improve their investment performance, a lot of the focus is on the asset selection process, how we can improve the hit rate there and whatnot. But I also really want to examine every little basic component of the process to see if there's a way that we can improve performance. And one of the places I look is on the fee schedule. Now, there's a lot of information in this presentation. I encourage you to pause it because I'm going to kind of quickly go through some of the numbers, and there's a lot of numbers on there. So please pause it, make sure you understand it before moving on. Now, I got this off the internet recently, so I think it's accurate and up to date. But in terms of custody fees, what you pay your custodian bank annually for fees varies depending on where the assets are held, right? So, or where they originate from. So here's a fee schedule I found. So on the cheap side, we have United States DTC settled securities, where you're charged a transaction fee of $7 per transaction and half a basis point in custody fees annualized per year, all the way over to the Group E countries, where you're paying $100 per transaction and 25 basis points in custody fees. So again, the transaction charge is the trading charge. Each time you do a trade, to process that trade, they charge you. So that's both on the buy side and the sell side. And then the custody fee is the fee you pay for them just to hold those assets in custody. And you can see that these fees vary dramatically. Now, to give you a sense of what that looks like for a real portfolio, I created a couple of portfolios here. One that's worth $15 million, one that's has an AUM of $250 million. So if we just kind of jump over to the column E or the Group E, and we think about a 5% position held in a $50 million portfolio, you're going to pay that custodian bank $6,450 per year to go in and out of that name one time, plus the custody fees. Okay, now that translates into 25.8 basis points per, for the full portfolio, I should say. So it translates into 1.29 basis points for that position. If all your positions are held in that portfolio, then it's 25.8 basis points you're paying in fees, of course, subtracted from your performance. Now, if your portfolio value jumps up to $250 million, you can see that the dollar fee jumps up. So $31,450 per 5% position. Or if all of your portfolios in that Group E, then you're talking about $629,000 you're paying in custody fees to the custodian bank, which equates to 25.16 basis points per year you're paying to the custody bank. Now, on a percent basis, it drops because that transaction fee has less of an impact as the portfolio gets bigger. So just keep in mind the portfolio size affects that and the number of transactions. So again, if you're kind of working a name over a few days, and you're going to pay that transaction cost each time. So keep that in mind too. Now, there is a nice little way you can kind of lower your fees, and that is through American Depository receipts. Now, you can take an ordinary and you can convert it through an ADR custodian bank. You can convert it into an ADR. Now that ADR now becomes a US DTC security. So then you're now on the fee schedule, which is much lower, that first column, that US DTC fee schedule. Now, there are some considerations. If you don't do this right, it can totally backfire on you. But if you do it correctly, you can absolutely reduce those fees. So the considerations are, number one, okay, there is a conversion fee to go from ADR to ordinary and from ordinary to ADR. Now, in my experience, those fees are negotiable, and it typically is that to go from an ordinary to an ADR, they'll waive the fee, but to go back, then they'll charge you the fee. There are some liquidity issues because, again, you want to hold the ADR, but there are situations where the ADR is extremely liquid and the prices are very stale. So what you want to do in those situations is you want to buy the ordinary and have it converted to the ADR. If you don't do that and you try to trade the ADR directly, your execution prices are going to be horrible, and you're going to more than eat away the cost savings or the fee reduction by this strategy. So your trader and the sell side firm they're using, they have to do this exactly right or it won't work. There are some ramifications for the pricing committee. if you're holding some of these illiquid ADRs. But in the end, they're going to do exactly what they would do if you were holding the ordinary like you used to hold it. They're going to base the price off the ordinary, and then they'll do any kind of fair valuation they need to do due to time change, time zone changes. And this is a country by country proposition. It works in most countries, but it won't work, for example, in the UK because of some taxes there that will more than eat away this fee reduction. It won't work in places like India, where there's some currency, exchange restrictions, and they're not all ADRs have, or I'm sorry, not all ordinaries have ADR programs. So sometimes it just isn't possible. But to the extent that it is possible, it really is a guaranteed way to lower your fees and thus improve your performance. Again, if it's executed exactly right, this is a guaranteed way to do it. I highly recommend you talk to someone. I'm more than happy to share my thoughts, before you try to implement the strategy. But if you do, and you do it correctly, for portfolios that hold these types of expensive custodied assets, you will definitely improve your performance by doing this. Thank you so much.